Hey there, my name is Bridget. I attended the BTS highlight tour in Atlanta. I'll say right now it was not an overall positive experience. I had a lot of people asking me to do this fan account because I was a VIP ticket holder. So I actually got to do everything that they were supposed to have, but I'll tell you why that wasn't maybe the best experience anyway. Um, so I live in Iowa. So I drove for 15 hours to get to the show, which was a little less than ideal, but it was still the closest stop on this tour, so I wanted to get a chance to go. A few days ago, actually, when we heard what happened with the San Francisco tour, I filed a complaint with PayPal to get my money back because I'd been hearing all these things about TGM and their awful management, what happened with the Eric Nam tour and the other tour that they tried to fund, and how nobody got their money back for those. And I was getting really nervous because San Francisco was such a disaster. So I filed a complaint with PayPal. They told me at that point that when I filed the complaint that if TGM could prove I went to the show even despite filing the complaint, then they probably couldn't get me my money back. So I was resigned to not going. The night before, so Friday night, it was on my mind a lot because I would have had to have started driving then. That was when I was planning on just starting to drive, and I called PayPal back because I wanted to ask about how my claim was going and what was going on with that, because if I wasn't going to get my money back, I wanted to try to go anyway because at least I'd get something out of it. So I called back and I got in touch with another representative, and I explained the situation because they said that it was still being processed and it could be as late as the middle of October before I got any news as to whether I could get my money back. So I explained why I really needed to know right away, and explained the entire situation to this representative, and she told me that what it sounded like is that without even trying to go to the show, I was just kind of deciding not to go, and with no guarantee that it was going to be a bad show. I was just assuming that it was going to be. So she didn't expect me to get my money back for it. So I'd heard that Houston had gone better. I've heard differently now, which sucks. I wish I'd known all the shit that went down in Houston beforehand, because I might not have made this decision, but I went ahead and I canceled my claims with PayPal and got into the car and started driving. So it took me 15 hours to get there. It was supposed to take 12, but I ran into a couple accidents. There was also I forgot that there was a time change between here and Atlanta, so I lost an hour there. But it turned out okay. I showed up just a little bit after 4 o'clock. The autographs were supposed to start at 5. I was a little freaked out. There were no event staff around when I got there, so I ended up having to ask all the fans in line where I was supposed to go. And they directed me. I've eventually found the VIP and autograph pass line. Got in line. I was one of the last ones there. I might have been the last VIP to check in, period. It took me half hour, 45 minutes to get out of the rain and into the venue. There were a lot of people out there waiting in the rain that had been waiting there all day. It was kind of awful. Some of them had their wristbands, some of them didn't. Nobody seemed to quite know what was going on, but everybody was still pretty optimistic and everything. But I got in, I got my wristband. The woman that checked me through directed me to get into the autograph pass, or not the autograph pass, the autograph line, and not to get into the line to get my t-shirt because I might miss the autographs if I did that. So I went ahead and got into the autograph line. They said I could pick up my t-shirt later, which I did, and I'll get to that in a little bit. So I'm one of the last people in this autograph line. I start talking with the other girls there. We get up to the front, and J-Hope is first, and they put the poster in front of J-Hope. He signed it. I got the chance as I was walking by to say, hey, you're an inspiration. And, he got to say thank you. But we were really rushed through this line. We didn't really get to stop at all. We didn't get to interact really at all. We could say something at them as we passed. We weren't getting anything back except maybe a thank you. The boys themselves kind of looked like they were forcing their smiles. They didn't seem very happy. They weren't able to really engage at all with the fans. So the fans came out of it upset, and the group didn't seem happy about it. It was just straight through. We basically we paid all that extra money to walk by a table where they were sitting and then get a poster at the end. I personally, I stopped. Well, I didn't stop, but as I passed Namjoon, I said, you're a huge inspiration to me as a musician. And he said, he looked up, he said, oh, really? To which I responded, still moving. I responded, yes, and thank you. And before I even got the thank you out, and again, stressing, I didn't even stop. A TGM staff member pushed me from behind, like I was holding things up. I was walking the same pace as everybody else. And I just think it was kind of awful that they were doing that to fans, that they were getting physical when they weren't doing anything wrong. I was just talking. I didn't slow down. I didn't stop. I didn't try to touch anybody. And here they are pushing me because I'm daring to talk to the people that I paid money to have a fan interaction with. Because that's what this show is. It wasn't a concert. It wasn't something like the Red Bullet. This was a fan interaction event. The boys only did 4 songs. It was to help promote this fashion brand. Ostensibly, what this event was a chance for the fans to come and interact with the group, and that would promote this fashion brand, which I also might add, there was nothing about, what was it, Community 50, I don't even remember the name of the fashion brand. There was nothing about it anywhere in the entire show, in the entire venue. Nobody mentioned it. The only thing was that it was on the t-shirts. That's literally all we saw of this brand that we're apparently supporting. Anyway, so the fan sign, I came out of that. A lot of fans came out of that really upset. Just with how they were rushed through, and how the people that bought just the fan sign edition instead of the VIP pass for everything, I think they paid like $70 for that, maybe 30 seconds. Anyway, the point is, it was very disappointing. So from there was a girl that I'd made friends with in line waiting outside, who was another VIP. She was 14 years old. She was this absolute sweetie. Loved her. We spent the whole event hanging out together. I'll just call her, I guess, Sarah. It's not her name, but I'll call her that. So Sarah and I got together inside. We got into the auditorium right after that. Got to choose where we were going to stand or sit. We decided to stand in the pit at first. By the time everybody had gotten into the venue, though, it was so crowded, we both just found seats. Really, there wasn't a bad seat in the entire house. It was so small. So that didn't make a whole lot of a difference to me, at least. She had found some friends that she knew from school, and she went and sat with them. And I ended up sitting with the chaperones, actually. because there was a seat available up there. So the show itself started. The opening act was okay. The rapper was pretty good. I actually enjoyed what he had for us. He got to do more songs than BTS though, which seemed a little weird being an opening act. He was doing a pretty good job getting the crowd hyped up. They were responding pretty well. I mean, nowhere near the level they do for BTS, but that's completely to be expected. So there was that. After that, there was, well, right before that, actually, there was a announcement. It was, oh shoot, I forgot to mention something. So the t-shirt that I said I'd get back to. While we were waiting, we had about an hour's long, maybe a little bit more wait between the fan sign and the show itself. So Sarah and I decided to go get our t-shirts because neither of us had gotten ours yet. So we went up to the front, and we were the only people, I guess, that either needed their shirts or decided to go then. So we went up there by ourselves. We got stopped by security, and we explained, and they let us through. So that was okay. We went up and we asked one of the TGM staff members, we're like, we didn't get our shirts because we had to rush to the fan sign. Can we get our shirts now? And they asked us what size we needed, and went in, and we started talking with another TGM staff member who turned out to be Nadia herself. Nadia, the head of TGM. And she had to ask our names so she could mark us down as having gotten our shirts, and it was a little awkward because I said my name and she visibly reacted and we ended up talking about my PayPal claim, which I apologized for, and I'm kind of wishing I hadn't apologized at this point because the event wasn't good. I kind of wish I'd left the claim open. I actually wish I hadn't gone. But anyway, so I talked with her, and that's how I knew right before the show, when there was an announcement, they made an announcement about not, it was definitely her from her voice. She made an announcement about not taking any video or pictures, and that if you had your phone out, you'd get escorted out. Overall, pretty standard concert message. What I objected to was the fact that it was in a very condescending tone. I don't know if I think she was trying to be, cute about it. Like, now remember, don't try to take any pictures or get any video because you'll get escorted out, sort of thing. But it came off very condescending, and as an older fan myself, that irritated me just a little bit. Anyway, so BTS finally gets on stage, and they come on and they start doing No. The stage was very small, and they weren't able to do all their choreography, which was a little bit disappointing, but they did their best with some alterations in there. Right after that, they did introductions, and they all said hi and gave their names. There was a lot of cheering, a lot of screaming. It was very loud. And then Rapmon, V, and J-Hope all started talking about Atlanta, and what they'd heard about Atlanta and what Atlanta's famous for, and why they were excited to be there. The rest of them stayed mostly quiet, but it's to be expected. And it was probably pretty scripted. It sounded pretty scripted. Namjoon carried the whole thing pretty much. The others just responded as best they could. So that was cute. It was fun to see. They went into Dope right after that, which was awesome. The performance for Dope was great. The background music, however, right at the beginning of Rapmon's verse, there were two very long, several second long, just silences that interrupted the music, and he kept plowing through them, like he kept singing through them, but then it would jump back in at the same spot it cut out, and he had to scramble. There was twice where he had to scramble to find a spot again, and he looked really upset about that. But the fans, were cheering and rapping along, and were very, very supportive of the whole thing. And he got his bearings back very quickly, very professional about the whole thing, and they completed the song, went right into Boy in Love, which went perfectly fine. Left the stage. At that point, there was the 5 to 7 minutes of screaming for an encore. They came back on and they did "I Need You," and then the performances were over. Right after that, though, there was another announcement in the exact same condescending tone, saying that all the people with the black wristbands, so the people that only had paid $50 to get into the show, and didn't have high touch passes, that all of them had to leave, and don't try to get into the high touch, because we're checking wristbands, and you've seen our security, and they will escort you out. You don't want that to happen. And it was very, very rude, I thought. Just the whole announcement there. There's another person on YouTube who's done a fan account who had one of those wristbands. I think her name is Lady Danger. I'll find the video and put a link to it down in the description for you guys if you want to watch her fan account and see how what overlaps and what's different. But she said that she felt terribly embarrassed walking out, because she felt like everybody was looking at her right after that, and so few people with black wristbands actually even got into the show, which, again, I'll get to later. I'm sure all of you have heard about it already at this point. But so that happened. Right after that, we're waiting for the high touch to happen. Sarah had a friend who was one of the people that, okay, this is what happened if you haven't heard. About 100 people that had come to the show were not allowed in. The TGM had overbooked the show, not informed anybody, had known about it for months, had even had little printed sheets of paper to give them explaining that they'd oversold and sorry you can't get into the show, which is completely screwed up. I can't imagine how they would have all that printed out and ready to give to these people if they hadn't known they were going to have to do it in the first place. So that's really screwed up. But they promised that in return they would have access to the high touch and photo ops. So a lot of the fans, even though they'd been waiting outside in the rain for hours already, were still excited about it because they were going to get high touch and photos, and that was something they weren't going to get to begin with. So one of Sarah's friends that had come to the show was one of the people that got left outside. So she was texting with her about it. We went to go stand in line for the high touch. And while we were there was this girl that was like really excited, like she was bouncing up and down. She was like, I get to high touch with BTS. And she was so excited. It was really cute, and you know how exciting it can be. This security guy that was walking by saw this, leaned in like within a foot of her face, and went, "Oh my god, oh my god, oh my god, oh my god," and bounced up and down, and then kind of just rolled his eyes a little bit and walked away. And this girl was like crushed and embarrassed. It was one of the worst things that I personally witnessed the entire event. Aside from all the people that were later let down, that had missed everything, that was the worst thing that I actually witnessed happen. Just this poor girl, and she looked like she was about to cry right after this happened, and I was mad. I was very, very mad about it. But she recovered. We all went into high touch. The high touch was a high touch. It was upsetting how much all the people with high touch passes, especially the really young ones, expected it to be more than it was. I've been to a few K-pop events, and I know that though I've never done a high touch before, I know what a high touch really entails, and I knew not to expect much more than walking by and barely touching them. So I wasn't terribly let down by that. Again, though, it was noticeable how not particularly happy the group was. So there were a lot of people that were upset about that because, again, rushed through the line. Right after that, Sarah and I got to go join the photo op line, and we stood there, and they cut off our wristbands so that we couldn't give them away. We all ended up back in the auditorium again to wait for our turn. They made an announcement saying that it was groups of 25, which is, again, upsetting, but it seems to be what everybody got at all the stops. The original that was promised was 8 to 10 people per photo, not 25. It does make a big difference because it was hard to cram everybody in there. The best thing I can say about it is that, at least unlike San Francisco, they didn't make BTS sit on the floor for this one. Anyway, Sarah and I were at the very beginning, very front of the line for our particular group, so we were the first in the room. J-Hope, between photos, was trying to do some, like, Aegyo stuff, like the little heart and everything. So that was cute. He didn't do that. I didn't see him do that during the actual photos or anything, but I think he was trying to keep the mood up and everything. We come in and we're directed over to the far end. We walk by all of them. Jin looked kind of uncomfortable, like he was kind of trying to avoid eye contact, and I felt bad about that. I ended up standing right between Jin and Jimin. They were behind a little cord, though, behind us, so that there was a little bit of a separation. But so we're waiting for all the rest of the 25 people to get in and get in the right order, and Sarah looked over at Jimin, and she's like, can we do one of, like, the little heart things? And he looked at her, and his smile just kind of faded a little bit, and he whispered, "Sorry." And it was really kind of heartbreaking. He looked like he genuinely felt really sorry that he couldn't do this. From what I hear from the other stops too, this is a problem they've had, is that they were getting yelled at for actually bothering to interact with the fans, which might have a lot to do actually with the complete lack of any of that we got at our show. And I'm sure the other stops just had as much trouble as we did, because I heard that, like, Jimin got yelled at for taking too long to sign a photo or a poster. I heard that V got yelled at for talking too much with the fans. It's just, again, this is a fan interaction event. Just let us freaking interact. Okay. So we got our picture done. We got out of the room. We're told that we need to leave the venue now. We start heading towards the door. There's a ton of people all crowded around the door. We go up to leave, but there are too many people, so we're having to wait. And then a staff member, staff members again, comes running up, or not running, but, walking very aggressively up from behind us. She's like, "Why aren't y'all leaving?" And Sarah and I actually said, we're trying. And she pushed past us. She's like, "This door opens too," because there was one door that wasn't actually open, but there were fans, like, crammed on both sides of it, so it was, like, stuck in place. She just starts shoving on this door. We're like, "Look, lady, we're trying to leave the venue. Just give us time to file out." It is incredibly unprofessional. There was no indication whatsoever that anybody was trying to hang around or trying to get back in to see the BTS or anything. We're just, all trying to get out of the doors all at once, and it takes some time. Anyway, we get back outside. All the people that were promised high touch and photo ops for missing the show. They'd come in while we were waiting to go to our photo op, and we're sitting in the auditorium, and they were supposed to get high touch and photo ops after we that paid for them all got them. So we're standing outside, and I didn't want to leave Sarah because she was kind of young and it was dark out, and it made me feel better to stick around till her friend could come out. So I'm hanging out with her, and she's got her phone out, and it's close to an hour after we leave the venue of us standing out there. We found an overhang to stand under so we weren't getting wet, at least. It was getting close to an hour, and she just goes, "Oh no." And I asked, "What is it?" And she said they're not getting the high touch. And then all the people that were supposed to get high touch and photo ops start coming out of the venue, and they are angry, very, very visibly angry, and crying and upset and just absolutely mortified. And her friend comes over, and she's just crying and yelling and just terrible. It was terrible to witness, and I felt so bad for all of them, and I ended up having to go because I had to start driving. But they went, when I left, they were heading back into the venue, and obviously nothing came out of that because nobody got anything. From what TGM has now posted on their Facebook, they did not ask Big Hit or BTS if it was okay to offer these people high touch and photos before they promised them, which is, how can you call yourself a professional company, is kind of what went through my head. They made their apology on Facebook, and but there's nothing they can do. There are 100 people that are out, whatever travel expenses. They've been promised a refund, but we don't know if that's going to happen because people from the other tours that TGM was supposed to put on haven't gotten their refunds. And these people, there were people where this was their first concert experience ever, period, K-pop or no, and they came out of this with literally nothing but hours of standing in the rain. It blows my mind a little bit that TGM knew that they were overbooked, printed out those little sheets, then promised them a high touch as their plan B without okaying it. They had literally months to figure out some way to deal with the overbooking, and they didn't. They just didn't. And that's so incredibly unfair. Every single interaction with this entire event left just a sour taste in my mouth, not just on my behalf, but on the fans and BTS, and it's just the parents of that came to chaperone their kids, who had to deal with their incredible disappointment. I put 1,500 miles on my car for this. I spent probably a grand total in expenses and gas close to $500. And I went to the Red Bullet. I had a seat way up in the balcony, really far back. And it was 1,000,000 times a better experience than this because I didn't have any fan interaction there, but at least, there was something to that show. There was the boys got to perform, and they got to have fun, and the crowd enjoyed it. The energy level was amazing. And here everybody was just so upset. It completely colored everything that anybody did. The poster I have is practically worthless to me because, it's signed by BTS, but I have other BTS signed items. I could have ordered a poster online and had better memories to go with it than this tour did. So, I mean, it was a complete fiasco. just terrible. And I feel terrible for everybody involved. Just absolutely awful for everybody involved. So, I have a friend who just got back from Toronto, who's also very upset with how it was handled there, because apparently they didn't do a whole lot better. She got there at 10 o'clock in the morning, like they were supposed to. They didn't get she didn't get her wristband until, what was it, 15 minutes before the show actually started. She waited out there for almost 9 hours before she even got her wristband, because TGM was severely late. Apparently the venue staff and BTS's own staff had to step in to help get things rolling. Just the level of unprofessionalism that TGM has shown throughout this entire tour is just staggering. And I would encourage anybody that actually bothered to sit here for half hour now and listen to my fan account, don't support TGM in the future. They've proved time and again that they just can't run an event effectively, and aren't willing to make up for that fact with the fans. I'm going to put a link in the description also to a petition that you can go and sign, that we're trying to get everybody who lost money to this tour their money back, because they deserve it, and TGM doesn't deserve to have that. And it was not a positive experience. It just wasn't a positive experience. So, thank you all for listening. I'm sorry this was so long. I'm sorry I look terrible. I've got bags and no makeup except some runny eyeliner. But, I wanted to get this video up as soon as possible to try to help anybody who is trying to figure out what happened, or wanted to know what it was like from a VIP experience. Just let them know what was up with this show. So, again, thank you very, very much for watching, and please sign that petition. Support BTS as best you can. They obviously didn't have anywhere near a positive experience with this tour either. They gave up their vacation for this, because it's Chuseok right now, and instead of spending time with their families, they're here getting pushed around by the staff for the show, and they deserve better. The fans deserve better. So do what you can. Don't blame them. It's not their fault. And, hopefully next time they come to the US, it'll be a much more positive experience for everybody. Thank you.